Good morning. We're back to being cold, but we're not raining and the sun's out. So we'll stack that win. I can't see where I'm going. That's not a good part. But we're off and running. A new day. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag on the old chat front. But we'll figure it. Yesterday, my time was largely dominated by my Corsair Keyboard deciding to have a complete fit. Every time I try to use it, it's a backlit keyboard, so you can't really see the keys properly when it's not lit. And I was using it and the light went out. I was like, oh great, that's not clever. It's a Corsair, I think it's a K70 TKL, it's a 10 keyless, which is what the TKL stands for, wireless mechanical keyboard. It's actually, as a key, just got hit by a leaf. As a keyboard itself, it's actually very good. However, it does have this habit of disconnecting, and I'm well within the range that the wireless operation is set to. So I'm just marvelling about how clear this path is this morning, them having come down here and cleared it yesterday. Now it rained like hell, so let's see how the drainage is. But anyway, yeah, I was a little bit miffed, to say the least. And then there was an issue like the caps lock light wasn't working. There was a whole range. The scroll lock light was stuck on, even with the scroll lock not on. When I was pressing the FN key, which highlights keys on the keyboard that you can use to adjust settings, that wasn't working. So all in all, it was like a nightmare, and I thought, right, I did a factory reset on the keyboard, didn't make any difference. The weird thing was, the keyboard itself was working. It was just the lights weren't working properly on the keyboard, which, you know, it's not very clever really. Any of you that have got a backlit keyboard knows that you need the lights on. So I was like, don't know what's going on here. I know this is a lot better. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better, because it was raining quite a bit yesterday and I would not have been able to come down the middle of the path like this, as you've seen in my previous videos. So the local authority, well done for finally getting around to clearing it. Let's see how long it takes for it to get all messed up again. But anyway, back to the keyboard. So this thing was driving me insane. And then I thought, well, the next step on the process was the keyboard connects to my computer using Corsair's IQ software. So I thought, you know what, I'll check to see if there's a software update. There wasn't. Everything was up to date. So I thought, well, I'll restart the software. So I closed the iCue software, and hey presto, the keyboard lights up. I turned the keyboard off and on, and then it just started working perfectly. The lights, the caps lock lights, everything. All working great. So it would appear that there is a fault in the iCue software, which it funnily enough did an update for on the 25th of November. And that was around the time I started to get some issues with the keyboard. So it's clear that a software update has not worked for my keyboard. Anyway, call it there, and I'll see you in the park. So yeah, I was messing around with that. I think the thing I'm going to try next is to uninstall and reinstall the iCue software completely. But it's not great. This shouldn't be happening. But that's the only thing I can think of. I wouldn't be that bothered, but you need the iCue software to see what battery life you've got in your devices. So the keyboard and mouse. They're both Corsair. And I had the issue with the Corsair mouse, of course, which was the covering that goes around it has been peeling off. And I did message Corsair, because this started after only about 3 weeks of ownership, and I did message them and they didn't come back. They raised a ticket through X. I sent them a DM through X, and then they gave me an email, and I sent an email and they never came back, because it's a design flaw with that mouse. There's a lot of other people have had the same problem on Amazon. So the materials that they used on that device were clearly substandard. And it wasn't a cheap mouse. It was the RGB Iron Claw wireless mouse. So I got that and the keyboard. I mean, that in itself isn't cheap. It's a £125 keyboard. I think the mouse is like 80-90 quid. So I expect top quality. So needless to say, in the future, I will not be buying Corsair products. Which is a shame really, because the actual overall build quality for both devices is actually excellent. The keyboard is a lovely keyboard to type on. And you've probably heard in my Doom videos, has that very satisfactory, clacky mechanical sound. I like that. But it's clear that their software is rubbish. The iCue software, again, I've seen a lot of reviews with people complaining about that. And I don't know if it was like a vinyl type covering on the mouse, I guess, to assist with the grip. And it's obviously separating from the plastic. I mean, it looks ghastly now, it looks awful. And I've only had it since April. You know, where it hasn't wore off, it's bubbled up. And you can't really do anything about it. Yeah, it's not very good. Not very good at all. Well, the mob that were just stuck in that van yesterday certainly didn't clear the paths. Nice one, boys. Wonder what they did. Like I say, they were probably messing about with the bowling green that nobody's using at this time of the year. Bowling being a summer sport and all that. So yeah, good use of the council taxpayers' money. That's what I like to see. Priorities. You make sure that bowling green looks great in the winter months when no bugger's using it. That's awesome. So yeah, go back moaning about my keyboard after moaning about that. What a moaning bastard I am, hey? So yeah, it's a shame really. I always associated Corsair with quality, and this has been overall a very disappointing experience. So I think I'll be in the future returning back to Logitech for my keyboard and mouse solutions. They'll probably be more expensive, but I suspect I won't have these issues, because I didn't when I was just using the standard sort of boxed in combos, you know, that are about 30 quid, the cheap ones. They weren't backlit keyboards, but never had any issues with regards to the quality, wear, or wear and tear or anything like that. They just weren't mechanical, weren't really gaming. So I think I'll be returning back to Logitech in the future, which is, it's a bit sad really, because as I say, there's a lot of positives with the Corsair. A lot of positives. And by the way, those of you that may not believe me, there's the bowling green. Completely, well, not completely clear, but clear and well maintained. Just, when no one's using it. It's wonderful. However, the pathway that people use every day isn't too clever. Yeah, wonderful again. There's a lot of people who use this park because it's got multiple entrances and exits, so these people use this park quite frequently. There's a health centre over there, GPs, so there's people coming through here all the time, and there's people who aren't great on the feet, and this is very treacherous. I've got hiking boots on and I'm okay on my feet, and even I've slipped. And this is a council owned and operated park, so they should have a duty to make sure that it's well maintained in terms of being safe, and it's not for certain people. For me, I'm all right, but for certain people it's not. It's like stuff like this, I can take a bit of a step over like that. Not everyone can. Same with this here. And you got to be careful because there's leaves in that, and it's, see, I can, yeah, they're in here all the time. Actually, on my way back round, I wonder if they did clear away those hedge cuttings. I wonder if that's what they were parked there for ages yesterday. I wonder if it was then they cleared away the hedge cuttings, because if they did that, why didn't they clear the rest of the bloody path? So, got no fish and chips for you to rob you, air pirate. Yeah, go on, flee before me. So yeah, quite a few seagulls in here. I don't know why, there's no food. I mean, if it was the summer and people were having picnics in here, yeah, I could understand it, because, you know, they're notorious air pirates. But this time of the year, no one's in here snacking. There's no food or anything anywhere. So anyway, that's that detour over with. Yeah, it's disappointing when you spend a lot of money on hardware and it turns out to be duff. You know, it turns out to be non-functioning. Well, not non-functioning, but it doesn't work as intended. You know, these companies should be held to account. What I've noticed on X is like a load of the people, because obviously they've been buying products in the Black Friday, you know, holding up their box products to Corsair, you know. Oh, look what I've got. And I'm like, yeah, hope you have better time with it than me. Look at that. Lovely clear sky. And how long that'll last. Last week when I was in here, I filmed a stay like this, and about 5 minutes after getting in, the sky went black. It was absolutely hammering it down with rain. Anyway, the Corsair issues are not going to be the main subject today. I actually don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about today. I enjoyed making that video yesterday about other people's computers and the impact of Sir Clive Sinclair. As I said in that video, he was legendary, vital. Even if you didn't own a Spectrum, what he did for the home computer industry can't be overestimated. And that's kind of one of the things that sort of saddened me when computers all became about IBM compatible PCs. Because that's what PC basically is. It's IBM compatible. And once they took over, I think innovation really did take a nosedive. It died off quite a bit. If you think back into the 80s, there was quite a considerable number of different home computers that you could get. I mean, the big three were the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, and the Amstrad in the UK. They were the big three. But outside of that, I mean, there was a hell of a lot more. I mean, you had like the Dragon 32, the Auric, the Jupiter Ace, as I already said, the BBC Micro, the Acorn Electron, the Enterprise 64. And of course, you had the Atari 8-bit computers as well. Let's not forget. I mean, there was loads. And there was so much innovation. Now, yeah, a lot of it fell by the wayside. Like I say, in the UK, it distilled itself down really to 3. And if you're being absolutely brutal, to 2. But that's a bit unfair. The Amstrad was an important computer. The CPC 464 and the 128, they were very good in their own right. My statement yesterday about Amstrad's acquisition of Sinclair, and by extension the Spectrum being bad, was because it was bad for the Spectrum. I think that the Sinclair brand dying out as a result of that, the innovation, you know, the experimentation, the absolute, you know, sort of typical British lunacy and invention, that eccentric design choices that always are going to hit and always going to miss. And quite often, the misses are always going to be more. But the invention comes far greater when it succeeds. You know, for every failure, you know, as legion as they may be, as legion as those may be, those failures, those hits are usually massive and are usually, they usually change the industry fundamentally. Like I say, think about the impact that that Spectrum range had, the ZX Spectrum had. You know, the QL didn't happen, it was a dud. But that was because they were trying. You know, they were trying to be inventive, they were trying to do something. It didn't work out. But it was the same with a lot of computer companies back then. I mean, Commodore, dear God, I mean, they destroyed themselves with some real humdingers, especially towards the end. They were just clutching at air, trying to find an idea. They hit the absolute jackpot with the Amiga 500, and instead of making that the flagship computer going forward and focusing their energies on making that cheaper and more affordable, not by reducing its specs, but just by the fact that, you know, by 1990 that machine had been out for 5 years. 5 years. They should have been a lot cheaper. They should have stopped the C64, positioned the Amiga as, say, a £300-400 computer, and it would have been massively successful. Maybe even less than that. you know, maybe 200, oh no, it's basically £300, 299.99, but, and then worked on their 32-bit Amiga as the next gen going forward. So your Amiga 500 would have been your basic system, and then the Amiga 1200 and that sort of series, the 3000, wasn't it the 2000, the 3000, was there a 4000? I can't remember. You know, being your high-end stuff. That would have worked, but no. I mean, even this idea of the Amiga 300, which was going to be a cut-down 500 that you could expand, was a daft idea. Because that would not, games wouldn't work on it. If it didn't have the specs of the 500, then a lot of your games are not going to work. So that was a silly idea. They come out with the Amiga 600, which admittedly I understand did have improved specs on the 500, but had different chipsets, which then made a lot of the older Amiga games incompatible with it. Stupid. What are you doing? I had an Amiga 600. It was a great machine, but it should have been everything the 500 was, and cheap. That's what it should have been. Everything the 500 was, but cheap. They made that many missteps that by the time they actually hit on something good, which was the CD32, which was you know, I didn't have one. I came close to getting one actually, but it was too late. I mean, that machine actually was in demand. It was selling. I mean, it was the first clever idea I think Commodore had for a number of years at that point. We've already covered the disaster that was the C64GS. Dear God. Talk about the home of stupidity. It doesn't come into it. Don't come into it. But yeah. But they couldn't pay their suppliers for the components for it. And so production just came grinding to a halt, unfortunately. But like I say, it was, you know, when PCs really took over, a lot of innovation died within the home computer market, which is why trying to resurrect, you know, proprietary systems that aren't IBM PC compatible these days is very difficult. It's only going to be a hobbyist's thing. You can't go back. You know, when you're this many years down the line where PCs have dominated the computer marketplace, I mean, the only thing rival to a PC is a Mac, is Apple Macs. That's it. But now it's just through GPUs, more power, more expense, graphics cards that form almost 85% of the cost of a PC system. It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. And of course now you've got to factor in these chip shortages and all other issues that come when nations fall out with each other, and the precious metals required to make microchips that are only found in certain countries. Yeah. You start to encounter huge problems in the supply line, which drives prices through the roof. It's not very good, is it? Let's be honest. It's not very good. And I know it's just nostalgia, but I do miss those days. I miss those days of competition, driving things forward. I miss the excitement of the launch of a new console, or, pretty much a new console, because PC, computers back then, it wasn't quite the fanfare that you get with consoles these days, or used to get. It's not really exciting anymore because the innovation isn't there now. It's very incremental. It is nothing really groundbreaking. This can do 4K at 60 frames per second. The last gen could only do it at 30 frames per second. Or they could do it at 60 frames per second without, what do they call it? I always forget. It's like the real-time reflections, that kind of thing. Switch that off and you can get 4K at 60 frames. The next gen, you can have it switched on. It's like, who cares? In the heat of a game, are you really standing there looking into the reflective surface of a car's hubcap and go, oh look, there's my reflection in it, and when I move, it moves? No. But that type of technology has a considerable cost footprint, and that's driving up the price of the systems that you end up paying for stuff that you barely notice. Meanwhile, things you do notice, stuff like loading times, stuff like having to wait for an hour to download an update to a game you just bought. That doesn't change, it just gets worse. The stuff that is impactful to the player, that doesn't change. Stuff that would be transformative doesn't change. And if it does end up in the game, it tends to be very briefly, like the almost instantaneous loading that the SSD drive was supposed to bring with it. That was trumpeted as a fanfare, and I always thought, well, that's great because that will make a big difference. But that's not really there now. I've used it before as an example, but the loading times for F125 on the Xbox Series X are ridiculous. They're just as long as it would have been had it been coming off the CD-ROM or the Blu-ray drive directly streamed from that. The loading times are appalling for it. So what happened to that promised performance, that promised tech. What happened to it? Nothing, just falls by the wayside as usual. They start out, and then the devs just are like, we can't be bothered. So you end up with this nonsense. And I say that's why it's difficult to really be excited about the PS6 and the whatever the hell the next Xbox will be called. The Xbox wallet vampire, from all accounts. It's just hard because it's just going to be more of the same what we've got now. And I'm just not really that fussed. It's, like I say, been a bit of a general waffle, hasn't it, today? That was inevitable after yesterday, but there's a few ideas there. The other thing as well, remember how, I touched upon it yesterday too, that, back in the day, those old 8-bit systems, and, it happened as well with the game consoles as well. As those systems went on in their life cycle, how much better the games got, both in terms of visual quality and gameplay. Does that really happen now? I don't think it does it? I mean, the games on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, what we're getting now, are they visually blowing away the stuff that we got 5 years ago when the consoles were released? Is that a thing? I don't think it is it? I certainly don't think so. There might be some improvements, but overall there's nothing where you can go, yeah, that's, within each generation you go, well, that's the first generation release on that console, and there's a second generation. You can easily tell the improvements they've made. Like Gears 2 and 3 were significantly better looking than the original Gears. Halo 4 was more visually impressive, if nothing else. Certainly visually, it was more impressive than Halo 3. Is that really happening now? I don't see it. I really don't. I think it's sort of stagnated. I think because the systems now are so open, there's nothing really, there's no special stuff to unlock. Game devs aren't really getting better in coding for that system because it's not the proprietary hardware that it used to be. Everything's sort of locked down. So, yeah, it's just not as good. Games coming out now, it's probably marginally better visually, but not massively. not massively. Which is a shame. Again, that's another thing, this sort of standardisation, I guess, of these things has brought with it. Anyway, I'm pretty much done. That'll do. I'll try and think of something for tomorrow, but for now, I think that'll do us. And I will see you all in the next one. So I'll catch you later.